Welcome back to my channel, everyone. You guys know who I am. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76 Sports. First of all, please like the stream, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Well, I'm here to talk about last night's college football playoff championship. So hence no University of Michigan music or school song, no victors, because around playoff time, this is us. This is one of my favorite pictures. So I just wanted to, get on and, just go about an hour or so. No, not an hour or so, because I want to eat and I don't want to go too late tonight. But I wanted to get on and capture this and catch. I wanted to catch lightning in a bottle. I was thinking about that when I was coming back from the gym about a month or so. A couple months ago. Me and my brother, who does the artwork for my channel and for my blogging platform, I was trying to get together with someone else to do some Buffalo Bills content. And my brother told me, I feel like you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle. I feel like you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle. And yeah, that's what you do, especially when you have a sports channel. Depending upon what you're covering, you want to shoot some nice, cool pre-records, but you want to ride the wave. You want to catch what's happening. And so, yeah, when something happens, you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle. It doesn't make sense to cover the college football playoff during Super Bowl time. And it doesn't make sense to cover the Super Bowl, when it's the Final Four. And it doesn't make sense to talk about the World Series during the NBA Finals. So you want to ride the wave and catch lightning in a bottle. So shout out to my brother Amal. So guys, so I'm going to get into last night's game, but before I do, I want to say I didn't get to enjoy the game. Sometimes people can steal your joy and steal your peace. And I'm the treasurer for the local alumni association for my HBCU, and we just had a meeting on Saturday, and the president contacted me yesterday and didn't like how I presented the financial report. So she kind of gave me a hard time right before the game. And so the entire time I'm watching the game, now I got something on my mind when I should be enjoying the game. So I didn't really get to enjoy the game last night, but I really got to enjoy some things today. And I'm going to talk about that. So today's honored guest, if you didn't see the background for this, today's honored guest is Saint Nick. And I'm going to talk about why Saint Nick is the honored guest for today's broadcast. So I have one article that I'm going to read, and then I'm going to give some commentary about a lot of people were hurting today after Ohio State's loss. And I was reminded of the fact that some people think that the current system is unfair. So in other words, the fact that it's basically the Alabama and the Clemson Invitational, and while two other teams get in there, and there's the feeling that the South has some sort of advantage over the other regions of the country, over the Big Ten and over the Big 12 and over the Pac-12. So that's a real thing. So some of my buddies, Abdul Gaines, you guys know who that is because he's always in here for the Michigan stuff, and we went to high school together. Him and his brother and others believe that the South has an unfair advantage, the SEC and the ACC, over the rest of the Power 5 schools, and they feel like ESPN for example, gives special treatment to the SEC schools. So I'm going to give some commentary on that once I get finished reading this article and looking over some of the stats from last night's game. So let's jump in, because I just got back from the gym and I want to eat, and I don't want to go too long with this one. But again, got to catch lightning in a bottle. The game was last night. I have a sports channel. How could I not cover this? If you're new, if you're one of the 6 people watching, or if you're new coming in, please click the like and please subscribe. I'm right at 860. So that means I'm 140 away from the holy number of 1,000. If you want to leave something in the tip jar, that information is below. Well, let's jump into last night's game. I was watching most of the game on mute, and I was thinking about what I was thinking about. And I actually shut it down around 11 o'clock. I just said, all right, this game's out of reach. I'm going to bed. I have an early meeting in the morning. So that's what I did. That's how I handled that. So I'm going to enable my screen share here, and we're going to read over what CBS Sportsline had to say about last night's game. So there it is. That's the final score. Alabama, St. Nick's team, 52, and the Ohio State Buckeyes, 24. I saw an interesting comment here. I'm going to read it. By the way, guys, it's been a very busy day on Big Discussions 76 Sports. There were some comments left under my last 2 Jim Harbaugh broadcasts, and some pretty poignant and fiery comments. I think some of them were for Buckeye Alex, who might come up and have something to say, but it's been a busy day here. Anyway, this article is off of CBS Sports, and it says, number 1 Alabama has returned to the top of the college football mountain, rolling to the 18th national title in program history with a dominant 52-24 win over number 3 Ohio State in the 2021 College Football Playoff National Championship. Undefeated at 13-0 and unchallenged through much of the season, the Crimson Tide put themselves in a special light even among the program's 6 national championship winning teams to play for Nick Saban. By the way, when I was a first-year grad student at the University of Michigan, Nick Saban was up at Michigan State, and that was 1999 was Tom Brady's last year, and that Tom Brady team went up to East Lansing, and Lloyd Carr had to split. Well, he decided to split the quarterback duties between Tom Brady and Drew Henson initially, and that Michigan State team had T.J. Duckett and Plaxico Burress, as Shannon Sharp calls him, Plexiglass Burress. But Nick Saban was coaching that team, and that was a pretty strong Michigan State team. And I remember Northwest Airlines, which was absorbed by Delta, they had a fun commercial with Nick Saban and Lloyd Carr at the airport passing one another. So, and then at the end of that season, Nick Saban left Michigan State and went down to the SEC, I believe. He went down to LSU. By the way, one of my favorite, before I get back to the article, one of my favorite Nick Saban drops is the I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. If I can pull that up before we get done, I'll pull that up. But he was coaching for Miami, and I guess the rumors started swirling about him going over to Alabama. And I think Jim Rome kept playing that drop one day where Nick Saban was like, I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. I'm tired of answering this over and over and over again. You guys need to find something else to talk about. And sure enough, St. Nick became the Alabama coach. Anyway, back to the article. The departures of multiple stars put the spotlight on an offense that had plenty to replace, but quarterback Mac Jones, running back Najee Harris, and especially Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver Devonta Smith more than answered the call as they led one of the best offenses in Alabama history and showed out for the biggest game of the year with 621 yards of total offense. Their 52 points were the most ever scored by Alabama in a national title game and the most in a Crimson Tide Bowl game since 1953. Smith was nearly unstoppable, pulling in 12 catches on his first 13 targets for 215 yards and 3 touchdowns before leaving the game with a hand injury. Jones got banged up a little bit as well, but still finished with 464 yards. Wow. And 5 touchdowns on 36 of 45 passing. I think I got that mixed up. I was thinking about Smith, but that's actually the quarterback, Mac Jones. Okay. Got a little mixed up there. But before Smith went out, he was having a good game as well. I didn't really watch Alabama play this season. I didn't really watch football until the Big Ten resumed. But that Devonta Smith, he won the Heisman, and he had a strong game last night before he hurt his hand. I heard somebody say he set some kind of record in the first half of the game. Heavens knows what he would have done if he had played the whole game, Saban said after the game. But you're talking about the ultimate warrior, ultimate competitor. So I'm happy for him that he was recognized as the best player in college football, because I don't think anybody's done more for their team than he has for our team. Harris, who, like Smith, was one of the few current Alabama players to be on the team during its last national title run, was an all-purpose machine with 178 yards from scrimmage, 79 rushing, 79 receiving, and 3 total touchdowns. Ohio State entered the game with a chip on its shoulder, that's putting it mildly, fermented through weeks of doubt regarding its status as one of the best teams in the country. Playing less games than those in the ACC and SEC brought out plenty of criticism and nitpicking from the Buckeyes' body of work. But most of the questions were silenced in a dominant win against Clemson in the Sugar Bowl semifinal to book a spot in Monday night's title game. There were notable setbacks, like starting running back Trey Sermon leaving the game after one drive with an injury and having numerous players unavailable, some a result of the COVID-19 protocol. But the lopsided result was more a reflection of Alabama's distance from the rest of the sport in this 2020 season. Yeah, as I was watching the game, I did notice, to me, what looked like a lot of Buckeye players getting injured and having to be taken off the field. So they lost Trey Sermon early, which was significant, but I thought I saw a lot of Buckeye players getting hurt and having to be taken off the field and out of play. So I would say that while this article is definitely lauding Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide, Ohio State didn't necessarily have its full roster. And also Ohio State, I'm sure if Alex comes up, he'll say this, the Big Ten started its season late, and Ohio State didn't even get to play all of its games. So Alabama, they had more games to play, and they were probably a little more finely tuned in the game. So I'm going to finish this article. It's pretty short. Ohio State's absences were notable, not game-changing. All right. They wrote this. I didn't. Even prior to Sermon's injury, the Buckeyes had starting nose tackle Tommy Tagai. I think it's Tagai. Starting defensive end Tyreek Smith, and starting kicker Blake Heibel. Jeez, these names. Heibel. I think it's Blake Heibel. Among the 13 players listed out on their availability report. Having 2 starting defensive linemen would have helped the mismatches Alabama offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian drew up for Smith in the first half. But those are key pieces to what has been an elite run defense and important bodies in a rotation that was needed as Alabama's play count continued to tick up in the second half. Yeah, if I recall correctly, I was listening to the game in the third quarter, and I think that was Kirk Herbstreit and maybe Chris Fowler officiating the game, and they noted that the Alabama offense took off quite a bit of time in that third quarter. So while Justin Fields was able to bring the Buckeye offense back on the field and score quickly, that quickly put the Buckeye defense back out there. And we all know that defense is, if they stay on the field too long, they're going to wear down. So, and the best example for that in my lifetime is Super Bowl 25 when the New York Giants did it to my Buffalo Bills. Okay. Sermon, who had a, let's see. Yeah. Sermon, who had a school record with more than 500 rushing yards, 2 outings in the Big Ten championship game and the Sugar Bowl, suffering an injury in the first quarter and was unable to re-enter the game. His replacement, Master Teague, was strong enough, though, scoring 2 touchdowns. The final total may not reflect it, but this was a 2-score game midway through the third quarter and could have been a terrific comeback if the Buckeyes could get some stops. A couple tied touchdowns later, the route was back on, and the result was not in doubt. Yeah, it was close early. I remember the Buckeye defense forced a fumble on Mac Jones, which looked very on that fumble. Mac looked like one of our Michigan quarterbacks, because one of the Buckeye defenders wrapped him up and knocked the ball loose, and it just looked kind of like something that would have happened to Wilton Spate back when he was playing. The 2020 Tide joined the debate for the best team ever. 1 year after Joe Burrow and LSU made all of college football wonder where the Tigers ranked among the best offenses and teams in college football history, Alabama has immediately added an entry into the debate. The season totals won't match the Tigers with 3 less games, but the averages and accolades are comparable. Smith has been unique in ways that may exceed a team-wide comparison, but so was Burrow during this similarly transcendent season. The 2 teams will be debated and compared for years to come, but what follows will be a tiebreaker for fans in the SEC West. Alabama may see an NFL draft exodus on par with LSU's a year ago. It is similarly losing a top offensive coach with Sarkisian off to Texas. But it would be out of character to see a significant step back following this return to the top of the sport. Saban has embraced modern offense and winning by overwhelming your opponent with skill position talent. Yep. Long gone are the days of Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry. When the greatest coach in college football history has gone all in on innovation, that's a wrap for pretty much everyone else in this sport for a few years. I know that's making some of your blood boil out there, Buckeye fan, and you too, Abdul Gaines and Urban Gaines. Plus, as Saban said after the game, when asked how the 2020 team stacks up to other national championship winning teams and similarly undefeated 2009 squad, the Alabama head coach quickly was quick to point out all they accomplished without the normal routine for the process to play out. I think especially in this year, with all the disruptions, no spring practice, really no summer ball at all, or any sort of develop to develop players, no games where you could play other players and develop players on the team. That might not have read right. I think based on the circumstances, this team has really accomplished a lot to be able to do what they did, he said. And the last paragraph is this, or the last part of this article is this. Ohio State leaving points on the board may have cost it. Of the many what-ifs for Ohio State fans will be a few situational decisions by the Buckeyes during the Alabama onslaught that was the first half. Ohio State punted from the Alabama 44-yard line down 14-7 early in the second quarter, but it was bailed out by Jones' subsequent fumble, giving the Buckeyes an opportunity to score anyway. Later, they settled for a field goal from the 6-yard line at the end of a 9 play drive instead of going for a game-tying touchdown. Following that, Ohio State had back-to-back 3-and-outs before finishing the half by running out the clock. The lack of stops by the Buckeyes defense, combined with Smith's incredible first half stat line, dominated the conversation. But there were points where it seemed like Ohio State could have taken a few more risks offensively and been in a better position when it mounted a comeback effort in the third quarter. A record-setting evening, and I think this is the end. Yeah, that's the end. Alabama finished out the season averaging 48.5 points per game, the most in SEC history. And Smith rounded out SEC records for the most receiving yards and receiving touchdowns in a single season, along with the SEC career receiving yards record. Jones not only holds several Alabama records already, but after the game, he solidified a new FBS record for completion percentage, 77.4%, and his 464 passing yards are the most in a championship game in the BCS / college football playoff era. Adding to the ridiculous records to either be extended or fall tonight was Najee Harris tying the SEC record for most career touchdowns and setting the new single-season touchdown mark with 30. Perhaps even more impressive, and I know this is nauseating to you guys out there, the Buckeye fans, perhaps even more impressive is that Nick Saban now holds the solo record for most national championships in the poll era. And the fact that of those 7 title-winning teams, only 2 were undefeated at the end of the year. The first was 2009, his first title win with the Tide, and the other is the 2020 team that reclaimed the crown Monday night. This was a special team, and its mark will be left on Alabama and college football forever. Yeah, also remember that St. Nick also won one at LSU. Okay, so guys, I'm going to take a quick look. Let's read through some of the comments here. Raheem Gaines, I call him Urban Gaines in our text group. Piece of the chat. Abdul Gaines says, I'm tired of the Southern chefs masquerading as head football coaches. I'm tired of them cooking their schedules. I'm tired of them, period. Alabama cooks their schedule like crazy and gets away because a few media have the guts to call out Chef Saban. Ohio State fans are arrogant. This is from Peanut Butter Hero. I think Peanut Butter Hero came into my last Jim Harbaugh live stream. He says, Ohio State fans are arrogant. I can't believe they had the audacity to compare last night's team to their 2014 team. What a joke. Okay, it's getting warm in here already. Wolf 58 says, okay, let's hear it, Michigan fans. The Buckeyes took it on the chin last night, but we'll be back. Yeah, there was some smack talk under my under yesterday's Jim Harbaugh live stream. Got humbled last night. Abdul Gaines says, Alabama always has extended time to prepare for their biggest opponents. That's what happens when you play 8 conference games. You can fry, bake, broil, or sauteed schedules in the SEC and ACC. Raheem Gaines says, Peanut Butter Hero, give me a break. Alabama fans are arrogant. Fans of elite teams can't be arrogant. Peanut Butter Hero says, I'm an Alabama fan, and Ohio State North Clemson is on our level. Okay, so in tribute to Tide fan, I'm going to show these 3 pictures. I'm going to show the flag, the school flag there, and I'm going to show the elephant. So in tribute to you, Bama fan, does Bama have a fight song? I don't know what their fight song is. I know what ours are. Ours is. I know what Ohio State's is. I know what Michigan State's is. Of course, everybody knows what Notre Dame's fight song is. But does Bama have a fight song? Let's see. Abdul Gaines says, call him Chef Saban. Raekwon the chef doesn't cook lyrics nearly as well as Chef Saban cooks schedules. That's a Wu-Tang Clan reference. The South will rise again. Oh, geez. Where is it? Arrogance comes with success for everyone. This Buckeyes team wasn't as good as last year, let alone 2014. Alabama fans should answer why they play one less conference game than most of the Power Five. Okay. Let's see. We're almost at 30 minutes. Let's just take a look at the box score really quickly, and then I'm going to get to what the Gaines brothers are talking about there in the chat in terms of the Alabama schedule, because it is actually pretty compelling. It suggests that certain teams have a formula that they use to make themselves eligible for the playoff every year, and it's not the same from conference to conference. So they're making the argument, and they were making the argument earlier today, that Alabama fixes it so that they get in there every year. So let's take a quick look at the box score. Let me re-enable my screen share. And the box score is here. And this is from Google. So that's the final score, 52-24 Alabama. And, in the article, they talked about how Mac Jones played and then Devonta Smith and those guys. So I think I'll just focus on the Buckeyes here and take a look at how the Buckeyes did last night. So Justin Fields, he didn't have a spectacular game. It wasn't a stellar game, but this one was kind of middle of the road for Justin Fields. So he went 17 of 33 for 194 yards and 1 touchdown. So that'll beat Michigan, but that won't beat Alabama on a night when they're rolling like that. So in terms of rushing, yeah, Justin did get out of the pocket a couple times and show his speed and his mobility. I'm sure the NFL scouts liked that. He carried 6 times for 67 yards. Master Teague carried 15 times for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns. They got a little bit of production from Marcus Crowley, and Trey Sermon went out early. That was a huge blow to the Ohio State offense based upon how he played in the last 2 games. Chris Olave. So Alabama was able to keep Chris Olave quiet. He caught 8 balls for 69 yards. And then next was Garrett Wilson with 3 receptions for 50 yards. And then it went down from there. Jeremy Rickert, he had a quiet game as well. He hurt Clemson when they played Clemson, and he only caught 1 ball for 36 yards. I think that targeting call from that Alabama player, I think he's the one. I think it was Rickert that he lowered his head into. It's always interesting to see Ohio State play the SEC teams in the playoff, because we know that in the Big Ten they have the superior talent and the superior speed, and the superior coaching. But it's interesting to see how their athletes do against the ACC and the SEC athletes. And I think the fact that Chris Olave didn't have a spectacular game, I think that's significant. Let's see for their defense, the Buckeye defense. Let's see. I'll just look at the sacks. Baron Browning had 1 sack, and Antoine Jackson Jr. had 1 sack. Yeah, but other than that, you see some tackles, no INTs. So Mac Jones, aside from that fumble, Mac Jones was pretty much able to do whatever he wanted. And the tie, they were pretty much playing pitch and catch out there. So that's all I'm going to say about the stats. All of this is below in the description box, but if you guys want to take a look at it. So let's talk with the time that's left. I want to say a few things about Chef Saban and Alabama cooking its schedule. And usually this ire is tossed at Nick Saban. I don't know if Dabo does this and I don't know if the other SEC coaches do this, but I'm sure they won't mind. But there's a text from earlier today I want to read, and there were a lot of spirited texts today from Abdul Gaines. But one particularly stands out to me. I don't think he'll mind me reading this. Where is it? It's a long one. Oh, here it is. This one reads, a lot is made of the playoff itself. Yeah, so no, I'll read the first one. That is going to be tough. I think he was talking about unseating Alabama out of its spot every year. Historical powers like USC are at best good right now, but not an elite level. That being said, they are in the top 10 of 24/7 sports recruiting rankings for 2021. The schedules have to be more evened out for conferences. Alabama hasn't played a true road game against an out-of-conference Power 5 program since 2011. To me, that's unexcusable. That's inexcusable. He says, a lot is made of the playoff itself. To find a way for college football to be more diverse and interesting, the schedule has to be near the top of the list. The SEC has a noted schedule advantage over the Big Ten, for example. We've seen Oklahoma and Texas play at Ohio State. We've seen Michigan State travel to Oregon to face the Ducks. Michigan has played at Utah. I'll say it again. Alabama hasn't played a true road game against a non-SEC Power 5 school since 2011. And when they play a non-SEC Power 5 school, it's usually the season opener in Atlanta or at Jerry World. Basically, fertile recruiting ground for the SEC and familiar with the surroundings of such venues. They're familiar. Ohio State never plays any team but a Big Ten team the week before, Michigan. And it's the same for Michigan leading into playing Ohio State. There's nothing wrong with having buys before big games, but playing FCS schools or non-Power 5 schools the week before Alabama's two biggest games on their schedules, LSU and Auburn, is like extra buys in the schedule. That's got to be done away with. Alabama constantly plays these neutral site games against Power 5 schools to start the season in places like Alabama and Arlington, Texas, maybe Orlando as well. It's always in a footprint that is SEC friendly. Alabama constantly has extra time to prepare for their biggest opponents. No wonder we call Nick Saban Chef Saban. Nobody cooks a schedule like Chef Saban. He's a 5-star chef. I'm going to read one more. This is from his brother, Urban Gaines. My brother has said a mouthful, and he's right on all accounts. I'm tired of hearing how tough the SEC is because it's top-heavy. The middle to bottom of the SEC is trash, full of bad and underachieving programs who fire their coaches or whose future is up in the air. The schedule point is a good point. Alabama can take buses to most of their games. Their out-of-conference schedule is shameful. They play one extra tomato can than everyone else outside of their conference. No true road game against a non-conference Power 5 team in almost a decade. Are you kidding me? Those season-opening non-conference games are just cash grabs and recruiting opportunities for the Tide. I had an Auburn fan laughing at Ohio State last night. I was like, batch. I'll say batch. Your team fired their coach, hasn't been close to the playoff. It's like incest with how the SEC fans are. Okay, so I pulled, after reading all this today, I pulled the Alabama's 2019 schedule. So this was last season, and interestingly, our Michigan football team, Shay's senior team, So Shea senior season, we played at least some of the Alabama players last year in the Citrus Bowl, I believe. So, and we lost that game. So this is Alabama's 2019 schedule, and I think this illustrates with what some of Nick Saban's critics are talking about. So let's take a look at this. So in 2019, and this is probably what we would have seen this year were it not for COVID-19 or something similar. In 2019, can I get rid of this? Anyway, in 2019, Bama opened up against Duke. And while Duke is known for its basketball, Coach K, Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, Jay Williams, all those guys, Duke is not known for football. And if you look at, let me blow this up a little bit. So Abdul Gaines and his brother, Urban Gaines, they know their stuff. So if you look at this game, it's against Duke, and it's in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. They won that one 40-3. The next Saturday, they hosted New Mexico, the New Mexico State Aggies. Yeah, they're not a Power 5 team, and that was right there in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Bama won that one 62-10. So you go down the schedule, and you got next is South Carolina. That's an SEC team, and now you see right here they played Southern Miss, the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, right there at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Of course, they won that one 49-7. Ole Miss, bye week, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Arkansas, a bye week before LSU. Of course, last year they lost that one 46-41. Mississippi State. And then, of course, the Iron Bowl is always the last game, just like our last game is against Ohio State. But just like Abdul Gaines and his brother said, look at who Alabama had before the Iron Bowl. Western Carolina, right there in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Of course, they won that one 66-3. They went on to lose at Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium, War Eagle, and they beat my Michigan Wolverines in the Citrus Bowl 35-16. But this is what the critics of Nick Saban are talking about. You have your SEC teams, you have your slate of SEC games, but you have Duke and New Mexico and Southern Miss and Western Carolina mixed in there. Two of those games. Well, this one's before their biggest rival, and they had a bye before LSU. So there is something to that. There is something to that. Nick arguably cooking the schedule and scheduling so that his team can get into the playoff. So I don't know if Alex is out there. I'm going to throw the link in the chat. If he wants to come up or anyone else wants to come up, I'll stay on for about 20 more minutes, and then I'll shut it down. In the meantime, I'm going to read through some of these comments because there were quite a few comments here. Let's see. Peanut Butter Hero says, one less team full of hurt feelings because Alabama got into their ass. By the way, I have a small crowd tonight. Please like this stream if you haven't. Abdul Gaines says SEC and the ACC have 8 conference games. The Big 10, the Big 12, and the Pac-12 play 9 conference games. The South, Alabama especially, cooks their schedule. So apparently the ACC fixes it as well so that they can get into the playoff. And Buckeye Alex is in the house. No camera. Maybe he's going for a blackout today in protest. Oh, we have an avatar. Okay. I'm going to bring you up nonetheless. What's going on, Alex?
What say you? How you doing?
Good, yourself?
Besides teaching a first grader algebra, I'm okay.
All right. What?
So,
Yeah, looks like Herb is here too. What are your comments on? You have any thoughts on last night's game?
yeah, I mean, a couple things. Uh,
You're boring a little bit. Go ahead.
I think. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you now.
I think
Yep.
if the roles will reversed, and
Yep.
you know, Alabama dealt with the COVID issues Ohio State did, and they go in and Najee Harris are their two defensive linemen. It's going to be a long night. The quarterback, which is the main part.
Yo, you're boring a little bit.
Running and throwing of their offense. It's just going to be a long night. So not only that, if Alabama plays
Hey,
so
Alex?
injury, Alabama won fair and square. Yeah.
Yeah, you're boring a little bit. I'm going to let Herb talk a little bit, and I'll bring. I'll let him talk a little bit, and then you come back. All right?
Yeah, he might have to hop in and hop out and hop back in. It sounds
Okay.
like his connection isn't great.
Okay, what's going on, Herb? What do you have to say about?
Well, I didn't see the game last night. We
I was on you guys a little bit.
night. It was a pretty entertaining stream. I think we're going to actually address some issues that they brought up last night. But getting back to the game and to the things, I think one of the things that Alabama benefits from is the weather that they play in. I think very few people really don't take a look at this. It helps when you have the top tier talent in the nation and you also play on what people like to call a fast track. What I would like to see is Alabama play more of their games in inclement weather because that neutralizes all of that speed you actually have to execute. And when you go up, let's put it for instance, let's say if they were playing in late fall and early winter in the weather that Michigan or the Big Ten had to play in. Do people actually think that speed would be as great a factor as it is playing on those type of tracks? I want to see them actually go out of schedule, out of conference earlier in their season and play teams where the weather isn't that great, especially once you get into the beginning of November and move on through November. Because Michigan I remember football to me should be played organically. I'm not against playing on turf or the fields that they use now, which is almost a composite blend of artificial turf and cut up tires. But I want to see teams actually play in inclement weather. I want to see them play in the rain. I want to see them play when the wind is blowing 20 miles an hour, where you can't actually throw the ball all the time. So you actually have to become one-dimensional. When that's the type of football I grew up on, with Big Ten football, when there was, student body, less student body, right? You actually ran almost as much as you passed. Nowadays, it seems like every level of football is geared for passing. So you don't need to run block as much. You don't need to, quote unquote, pass protect as well, because the ball is in and out of the quarterback's hands so quickly that if you can get speedy receivers and you can block up front for 2 to 3 seconds, you can go. And I know people will say that Alabama runs the ball. Alabama runs the ball well against a lot of subpar competition. And that's what you were pointing out earlier in the schedules. They play those cream puffs. They play some of those SEC schools. They won't go out of schedule and out of conference and play you, like you said, Michigan played Oregon. They won't play those type tier teams because they know if they get a loss saddle like that and they have to come back and run the gauntlet that is their conference schedule, they're going to be set up for probably 2 losses, and that's going to kill them.
Mm-hmm. I think
I totally agree, and I know we had this discussion.
No, I was gonna say quickly. I think the most you'll get Nick to do is to go to another conference in August or September. That's probably it. He's not gonna play in November. Anyway, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead. You still there?
I think me and Borg got again. And Peanut Butter makes another excellent comment saying that Power 5 conferences aren't actually Power conferences. The Pac-12 hasn't been anything noteworthy probably in the last 7 to 8 years. The last time I remember somebody out of the Pac-10 doing something was when Luck was a quarterback at Stanford, and we're going back 8-9 years.
Yeah,
that was the last time I recall anybody coming out of the Pac-10 being a threat to win a national title, or actually even getting to play in a New Year's Day bowl game. So I sit back and just look at the landscape of college football, and I'm thinking, college football hasn't been the college football of the late 90s, early 2000s in at least a decade, because you're always dominated by the same 4 or 5 teams. Not that that's good or bad, it's just what the situation settles into. So I always tell people, what do you actually, when they come out with their schedules for the playoff game, what are you actually looking at? Because your strength of schedule doesn't tell you anything. If they started looking at the strength of schedule just outside of the conferences, you would force Alabama to step up and play teams that are higher ranked, that are tougher to beat, and you would force them to go and play on the road, because in order to get points, or in order to gain some type of notoriety with your schedule, that will compel you to play those teams. It reminded me of when I played high school football, and you were assessed a certain amount of points for the team that you beat. The team we beat on homecoming end up making the playoffs ahead of us because they played a stronger schedule. Mm-hmm. And we were guys, so we said, how in the heck is this possible that a team you beat actually makes the playoffs before you? And that's when they had what they call a Harbin point system. And that's what they did. They awarded you points based on the teams that you played. So I would like to see something like that be implemented, where a team had a set number of rank points, and you got those ranking points based on that team. So they wouldn't be rewarded for winning in blowouts. They would actually be penalized. So it would force a team and a program like Alabama to actually step up and play teams that are given more points because they're better rated and better seated in certain tiers. That way you get away. I know other programs want the money that Alabama is going to give them for coming to play, and I don't begrudge any fledgling program or any program that's looking to get money out of their football programs for that. That's fine. But at the same point in time, you have to make it so that Alabama can't start stacking up wins early in the season. So by the time they get to the conference schedule, even if they lose a game, they're still situated in the top 3 or 4, looking to make a national championship run.
Mm-hmm.
I fully 1,000% agree with Lewis. And you got to think this started during the BCS era. I know I said this earlier. This started in the BCS era where when you started counting points, and you start playing with the numbers, and as long as you were pretty much undefeated, you were guaranteed to play, in BCS for a national championship. That's primarily where all this started from, where teams stopped, because if you remember back in those early days, Ohio State would play Texas. Alabama would go to conference and play other teams. But when the BCS system came around, they were like, oh no, what we're going to do, we're going to play our conference schedule, play a couple of FCS teams, give them a little bit of money, and then we're going to go play for a national championship every year. Florida State did it, Clemson did it, Alabama did it, Ohio State even did it. They would only schedule, what Ohio State did is they would schedule one FCS team and then 2 teams in the state of Ohio, whether it be Toledo or OU or Cincinnati, something like that. or Youngstown State. So it's a really bad look in college football right now. I'm not a fan of it. I'm a fan of, play a hard schedule, test your guys. The one thing about the SEC that drives me insane is that the rankings drive the SEC up, right? So you might have 6 teams ranked in the top 25 in the SEC. Maybe, and sometimes 6 is even a low number. And this is based upon the coaches poll. When those teams play each other, because they're starting off the year with such a high ranking, if a team like Georgia or a team like Florida who loses to Texas A&M, Texas A&M is a average football team. They're an average football team. Because of their ranking in the SEC, it pats the stats of top-tier teams in the SEC. The SEC is extremely competitive. You have 1 or 2 teams at the top, and it's usually Alabama, sometimes Florida, and sometimes Georgia if you're lucky. LSU creeps in there every once in a while.
Okay. All right, we got Wolf 58 up for the first time ever. What's going on, man?
Top tier teams in the SEC. The SEC is extremely competitive.
Hey, Wolf 58.
1 or 2 teams at the top. And
Hey, Herb.
Alabama, sometimes Florida.
I don't think that's me.
Yeah, Herb, you mute up.
LSU creeps in there every once in a while.
Okay, Wolf. Okay. You want to say something? Okay. All right, we got Wolf 58 up for the first time ever. What's going on, man?
Hey, how are you doing? It's good to see you.
So Wolf, you should there's a feedback. You should mute your YouTube while you're on. Mute your YouTube in the background. It's playing in the background.
I don't think that's me. Turn your YouTube feed down, your volume on your computer or your phone. We will still hear you.
All right, we got Wolf 58 up for the first time ever. What's going on, man?
Hey, how are you doing? It's good to see you.
Okay, so Wolf, you have to turn down. If you're watching YouTube, you have to turn that down.
I got my volume down, but
okay, good.
I can't hear you. So
you're good. No, you'll hear me.
Figure out.
Then why don't you leave and come back in? Leave and come back.
No, he said Anwar.
You good?
Yeah, I think he's good. I think he's good.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to check out here, and I'll get back with you next time.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Oh. I had a couple guys from the chat who are always here, and they come up for a second, and I think they just need to get used to it. But anyway,
yeah,
if you want to come back,
it's something to get used to.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the consensus is that Bama is definitely playing a different game, or playing the game differently than everyone else.
They are. It's almost like cooking the books. You put in there what you want people to see, even though it's different than what is actually going on. Like I said, that's the way the system is set up, so they're taking advantage of it. I just think it really does college football a disservice, because you don't get to see the best teams play the best teams. If that's because the NFL postseason is about the best teams. It's not about your schedule or who you played or what. It's the best teams with their schedules matched up against other people, and you get to see it. Now, the only thing I could say that people might be in agreement with is the expansion. Now, if you're going to do expansion, I would say legitimately there's only about 10 teams that actually have a legitimate shot at winning the national title. So if you want to expand the field of 4 to the field of 8, I would still do that. I would still do it like the NFL does: 1 play 8, 2 7, and so on and so forth, until you actually get to a national championship game. You might encounter 1 or 2 upsets, but that's the only way I can actually see teams actually really getting a chance to play. And these neutral sites are fine if you're going to play some of these neutral sites in places that are north. Like I said, let's get some weather back into this. Let's stop playing. And I could care less about all the fans. We get fans at NFL stadiums, especially Buffalo and Cleveland and New York, that sit in weather where it's 30 degrees. I've done it. And they watch football. If you want to watch football, you come in to watch football. So I don't want to hear about warm weather, sponsors, fans. People are going to go watch football, especially if it's good football. So let's get out of all this warm weather and let's play football in the elements like it was naturally done. And let's see how these teams cope with actually playing football when it's not 80 degrees and fair weather.
Oh, I agree. Do you guys remember the Super Bowl in Jersey? I think it was in Jersey maybe like 10 years. Man, it was awesome. It was awesome to see. I definitely agree with expanding the playoff. I definitely think we should probably go to 8. I'm assuming 8 is a very number to be at. I think 8 is a safe number, expansion-wise. And you know what? I've heard chatter for the last and a half, especially in the pandemic, that extension is coming. Not because it's the best thing to do, but it's all about money. With expansion comes more money in college football. So I think that's definitely a very, very, very strong possibility from what a lot of people are saying behind the scenes. And why not? How about having, if you have a playoff, you have 4 games in the elements, and your other 4 games, in the sunshine or something like that, where you're starting off north and as you progress through a bracket, you play down south or you mix it up. I definitely think I agree with the other gentleman. I definitely think that it should be up for discussion. And I am a person that, just like him, I believe football is meant to be played in the snow as well as the rain, as well as the sunshine. And not a fan of, although the system is set up for this to succeed, I'm not hating on Alabama because, they're game system. So I'm not mad at that. I wish they played other teams so we could see how battle tested they are. They pretty much play one game every year. So that bothers me. The playoff, kind of helps with that a little bit, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think nearly enough. I definitely think your non-conference schedule is important. And obviously I'm a Buckeye. We play TCU. Ohio plays anybody. We play Oregon. We play anybody. It doesn't matter. If you want to play, let's go. Let's line it up and let's see what's going to happen. Ohio State, the year they won a national championship, lost a non-conference game at home to Virginia Tech, and then ran off 10 straight to the national championship. So it's definitely possible. It's proven that, if you have a strong non-conference schedule, even if you win out your entire conference schedule in your conference, you can still play for a national championship. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I just think that, the gentleman said, it does a huge disservice to college football the way the system is set up now, where you primarily only have to play a couple conference games, a crappy non-conference schedule, and then you get to play for a national championship. I don't think that does anybody any good at all.
Okay. All right. Well.
And I do want to say congratulations to Alabama. They had a great season. They acted. I think the conference in itself was actually up this year. So, on a normal year, is Florida ever this good? Florida hasn't been good since they beat Ohio State, and I think I was in high school, or I thought I was in college. So, Florida hasn't been good for years. Georgia had a decent season. Texas A&M is okay. Outside of that, the rest of the conference is mediocre at best. They're super average football teams in that conference. They're just really, really top heavy. So the fact that Texas A&M beat Florida said a lot to me. LSU was they're rebounding. Georgia's always a 1 to 2 loss team every year. They have a very solid program. They have top 5 recruiting classes. They're a solid program, so I'm not going to put Georgia in that bracket, but Alabama got to go outside of Alabama and play somebody. And I'm not feeling Texas because that's like too slow. They need to they need to play someone on the road, like a true road game. Alabama hasn't played a true road game in like 15 to 16 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's something. They could go play. They could go play Notre Dame. Yeah, they could.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen. I don't even like Clemson. And Clemson, they would have been Notre Dame this year. Michigan goes and plays Notre Dame. SC goes and plays Notre Dame. Ohio State played. I think we didn't play Washington one year. Not like when it's fun. It's really, really fun. And this year, I don't count this year because it was really, really wacky. Hopefully we can get some type of normalcy, God willing. But I'm not a fan of the way Alabama does stuff. I'm not a fan of teams, and it's not just Alabama. I know we're talking about them because they won a national championship, but let's just call it what it is, and it's not just Alabama. A lot of teams do that. They just happen to be the most successful in that formula.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, gentlemen, that's pretty much all I wanted to. Just want to do a little recap of the game and this discussion. This discussion was taking place today as I was trying to get my work done. So I thought it would be worth.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It was entertaining. It was entertaining.
Yo, Peanut Butter Hero is killing me, man. I don't know who he. Apparently, this is his shoulder cup. But the funny thing about that, and Raheem is hitting the dead on the head, man. It's like Bama fans don't care how they win, so long as they win. It's like the investor who doesn't care if he's selling bad stock to people, so long as he's profiting off the other end.
Well, listen. As long as they hit those numbers, they don't care about nothing else.
Right.
Well, Abdul Gaines is the same way with his teams. Just win. He doesn't want a team if they don't win. So it's just when it's on the other side. So.
And I'll be real with you. I knew last night when we were on yesterday, and I had a prediction. If I would have known that Trey Sermon, not even worried about Trey Sermon getting hurt. If I would have known that Tommy Togiai and Smith weren't starting, I would have been like, and we were down to kickers. Alabama was winning by 25 or 30. I just told you that right off the bat. And that's with Trey Sermon being healthy. Those two, Tyreek Smith, Tommy Togiai, like our defensive line is we're not that deep. We're really top heavy at the defensive line. We got some really good pass rushers, but those Tommy Togiai as defensive tackle is the backbone of Ohio State's defensive line. If you're telling me that we're without him, we're not going to win. We would be Clemson if we didn't have those two guys. So, and that was what I was banking on. I was banking on this gentleman, making Mac Jones not necessarily throw from a clean pocket like he has all season. That's what I'll bank on. But without those guys, that wasn't happening. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and shut this down. So, thanks for coming up, and we'll shut this one down.
All right,
man. Y'all take care.
Hey, man, I want you to come up some more, man. I dig what you're saying. Mr. Lewis. So come up some more if you have the opportunity.
Okay, yeah, Herb. So Alex is always here, so he requested that you come back.
Oh, when I can, man, I just happened to get up a Zoom for my not-for-profit organization. I was like, oh, Dr. Anwar's line. Let's see what he's talking about.
All right, gentlemen, have a good night.
All right,
Man.
I heard. All right, everyone. I'd like to get to the rest of the comments. Let's see. Well, it's late. I'm hungry, and it's been a long day. So, yeah, everyone. Let's. Oh, we have one Bama fan here. Bama to the bone says, "What difference would it make? It'll still be the same results." That's. I think that has something to do with where Bama plays. Look at all these people coming in now that we're about to finish. Well, everyone, you can watch on the playback. This was only an hour long. We talked about last night's game. I read an article, and then I looked at some of the stats in the box score, and then some people are of the opinion that Coach Saban cooks a schedule. So we talked a little bit about that theory and that conspiracy theory, and we actually looked at the 2019 Alabama football schedule, and some of the allegations look true, but Saint Nick has this down to a science, and he might go down as the best college coach ever. So, and I think in the years to come, if he's still there, the Crimson Tide is going to travel somewhere else to play. I think they're going to go to Texas in 2022, and then someone dropped in the chat that in 2027 they're going to go out to Texas to play the Longhorns. So, all right, everyone. Okay, there should be a chef's hat on every national title Saban has won at Alabama. Remember, he got that one at LSU as well. So he cooks his schedule like thoughts cook their makeup. Oh boy. Okay, I don't want to get flagged down here. All right, everyone. I'm going to stop this. If you're watching on the playback, please like, share, subscribe. If you want to drop anything in the tip jar, that information is below this video. Everyone be safe out there. Thank you for watching. And as always, remember that you're at it. Well, let me stop. Go Blue. There's going to be a lot to cover in this offseason with Jimmy coming back. This is going to be crazy. So go Blue. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Whew. All right. Good night. Bye-bye.